Hey, all right. I think we're live, so hopefully everybody's doing well. While we're waiting on everything to get going here, let me get through the disclaimers I normally get through. Hopefully the sound's good. Hopefully you guys can see me okay. Somebody let me know if you can't hear me well, or if it's too dark or something like that. It doesn't always show up my end some reason the way it does on yours. But anyway, disclaimers. Normally, I get out of the way here. This is the weekly live broadcast, and I do this pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central, unless something gets in the way and I can't make it for some reason. And if I can't, I almost always will make a comment in the comment section of YouTube. So if you're a subscriber and you get your notifications turn on, you should see that pop up. If I can't make it for some reason, I'll usually leave a note there. This is pretty much an Ask Me Anything session. Don't have anything planned out to talk about. I do my best to respond to every comment that comes in during the live chat, and try to respond to you guys. Unless you're talking to each other, if you are, I'll skip over those typically. What else? What else? The only thing I ask here is, I mean, you can ask me pretty much anything you want. Just be family friendly, be polite. Don't start cussing at us. No reason to be rude or hateful with anybody. I think I need to zoom out just a little bit. We're feeling a little bit tight on the lens here today. There, it's a little bit better. Give myself a little more headroom here. You can see my head shine, maybe. Anyway, let's go on. Let's get into it. Hello. Justin says, "Can I talk rabbits?" Oh, absolutely. We can talk rabbits. What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about? Let's do it. We've got, let's see, live off grid or live off grid, I think it is. Says, "Hey, Chris, how long can I keep my rabbit bucks, meat rabbits, together in a large cage? They're now 12 weeks old, but only weigh 4 pounds. Their father is a giant crossbreed, no signs of aggression yet." Good question. You want to keep the bucks together. You're not keeping bucks and does together. I mean, I would definitely separate your bucks and your does at about 12 weeks. But if it's all just a cage of bucks, leave them together until you start having some problems. Really, there's no definite age as to when they have to be separated at that point. I would say once they get to be about 6 months old, then you may start seeing some issues, but before then, you're probably okay. If you do start seeing some issues, then it's time to separate them out. But there's no set timeline that for moving your bucks apart or anything like that. Does tend to get a little bit more territorial and can be a little bit more aggressive than the bucks can. So you should be fine for a while. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Justin, all right, says, "I can't seem to breed my doe. She will not lift for him. I've tried 3 days in a row and two times a day." Very common issue, especially with first time mothers. So, hey, there's Kyle Randall in here. I'll talk to you in a second, Kyle. Sorry, I just caught your name there. So, where's I going with this? Okay, that's a very common issue, again, especially with first time does. They can be kind of reluctant to lift, just don't know how to get in the mood, kind of, I guess, so to speak. There's a couple of different things you can try. First of all, you're on the right track. So, you're doing the right thing. The thing that I always recommend first is try and try again, two times a day. But you're 3 days in and she still won't lift. So it may be time to move on to some other things. A couple of things you can try: add some light to the hutches if you can, to extend that daylight up to about 15 hours a day. That might help put her in the mood a little bit. You can also try, one thing you might want to try before you do anything else, because you've already got 3 days in a row of trying multiple times. You don't want to lose that progress. This is something that people swear by. I don't know why it would work. It makes no sense to me, but everybody says it does. So try it out. Put her in a pet carrier. Put her in your car. Drive her around the block a couple of times. Bring her back. Put her in with the buck and see if she lifts right then. Don't know if that'll work, but people swear that it does. So give that a try. The other thing that you might want to try with her, if that doesn't work, like I said, add light, get it up to 15 hours a day. You might also, if you have the cage space, you can put the buck in a cage, in a separate cage, put her in his cage for a couple of days, and then move her into his cage where he's at now. That might give her the smell of him, get her a little bit more used to him being around, or the smell anyway, and sometimes that will work to kind of put him in the mood. If all else fails, you can always resort to force breeding. I don't like to do that myself. It's a little bit difficult, but it's something you can do. And that would be where you hold the doe, basically, put your hand underneath her and lift up for the buck to allow him to mount and breed. It's a little bit tricky. Some bucks won't perform when you're doing that, but it's another option that you can do. All right. Hopefully that helps you out anyway. I hope it does. Good luck with that. Chances are, once you get her to breed the first time, she'll be more willing to do it after that. So, hold out hope. All right. So, like I said, Kyle Randall is in here. Good to see you, Kyle. Haven't seen you guys in a while. Hope you're doing well. Says, "Hey, finally had time to get on your live." Well, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Joe says, can bachelors live together? I'm keeping a few in case my breeders die. They can. I don't know that it's the best idea to keep them together, but if you're not having any problems, no reason to change that around. When you're talking about, hang on a second. I'm sorry, I'm on the rabbit trail right now. If you're talking about quail, it's no problem. Yeah, you can keep bachelors together. You can keep quail bachelors together for however long. If you start running into some aggression problems, then try to reduce the amount of light on them, get them out of the breeding mode because you probably here. Let me back up. I'm a little scattered with quail with roosters. You probably won't see any problems with them until you hit summertime and the days start getting up to about 15 hours a day and they start crowing. That's when they're looking for a mate and they may start competing with each other a little bit because there's no mates around. So they'll see the other as a threat. So that may be a possibility. I got to clean my glasses off. I can't see very well, but I can talk while I'm doing it. So that may be something that you run into there. If you can kind of keep the light reduced, like cover their cage in the afternoon when the days start getting longer, like you would a parrot cage or something, that can kind of help prevent that. Now, if you're talking rabbits, you can keep buck rabbits together. It's probably best to go ahead and separate them out, though. Sometimes rabbits will bond and they'll do just fine together, no problems whatsoever. But they are pretty much solitary animals. You don't see rabbits living, not not normal rabbits anyway. Some, I mean, European rabbits are a little bit different, the wild ones, but you don't see the normal wild rabbits around here or any kind of regular rabbits living in groups in the wild or anything. They're solitary animals. So they do generally prefer their own space, except for when it comes time to breed or something like that. But again, they do sometimes bond and they will live just fine together. So if you're not having any problems with one attacking the other or any of those kinds of things, then it's no problem. You can just leave them together. All right. Yeah. Live off grid says put her in the car. He's talking to Justin. Put her in the car and drive around the block. Yep. You said you had the same problem. The car trick helps. So there you go, Justin. Go ahead and try that. Let's see, Joe. Oh, there we go. I think I answered it for you, Joe. You said sorry you're talking about quail before you hit the send, or before you hit send before you completed, but I think I got that answered. Hopefully. Um, who's that? Jamming Mike, I think it is. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. And from North Carolina, we got Bags of Love here. Good to see you. Um, Justin wants to know if the age of the doe counts. Well, as long as she's old enough, a doe generally you're looking at about 6 months before they're able to breed. So if she's right at 6 months, you might give her a couple of weeks just to make sure. But and she's not over about 5 years old, then you should be fine. Now, the only other concern you might have with that is if she's a doe that's over a year old, a year and a half old, say, or 2 years old, somewhere right around in there, and has never been bred. That may make it difficult to get her bred at that point. Even if you do have a successful fall off, she may not get pregnant, I guess is the word I wanted to say. From that, it's just sometimes when does go a long time before their first breeding, they can develop a lot of fat on their ovaries, and it just makes it difficult to get them to actually have successful breeding. Gary Miller's here. Says hello, Chris, to all and the Quail family and friends. Thank you. Hello to you too. Let's see. Jesse, good evening to you. Cheshire Cat from Washington says, love your channel. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Gary says, hello from North Carolina. Good to see you, Gary. I've already talked to you a little bit, but that's okay. Good to see you again anyway. The entire population of Australia, hello to you. That's a great username. Jay Moore says, is it me or is the sound weird? Is the sound weird? Does anybody else have problems with the sound? Let's see if anybody responds here. Everybody hearing me okay? Is the sound coming out okay? See, let me try to adjust something here maybe. That's probably loud, isn't it? It's probably making all kinds of racket when I'm doing that. Okay. Sounds like underwater, but we can hear it. Okay, we'll work on it. I don't know what's going on with my microphone. Apparently I am technically challenged. Let me mess with it. Some people say it sounds good to them. Let me make sure I've got all the plugs in good. I think that's the best I can do right now. I'm afraid I'm going to mess something up and we're going to ruin it. So if it's tolerable, whatever you did helped a little. Okay, sounds good. Okay, All right, I probably won't see any more of those comments for a minute because I'm way back up in the comment thread, working my way through it. So as long as it seems like it's good, I think we'll just go ahead and keep going. Somebody call me out if it's not. Again, it'll probably be a while before I see it though. Where we at here? Robert from Virginia, good to see you. And let's see, Tracy from North Texas. Guess what? Have five new mini Rex babies. Awesome. Congratulations on that. Hopefully they are doing well. Jasmine, hello, Jasmine. Good to see you. Says hello from your neighboring Missourian. Yeah, show me Stater here. There's probably a couple of us in here. I know Kyle's here. He's just over in Web City, so it's just you guys who are not from around here don't know where Web City is. That's my hometown, where I'm from. I graduated high school from Web City, and it's just about 15 minutes to the south, to the north of me. Blessed with pets. Good to see you again. Says I'm so happy to be here. I'm sitting here making a hammock for future rats, and this will make my day. Good. Making a hammock for future rats. Really okay. Good. They're spoiled rats, I guess. Katrina from Gilroy, California. Good to see you. Well, we just had a weird focus issue there, but it seems to be working out. Look, there's another Show Me State that flew the Coop Farms from Urick, Missouri. Good to see you guys. Gary says, howdy from the Lone Star State. And Ed says, hey, Chris, I hope you're staying warm. Yeah, it was great today. It was like 60 degrees. I mean, I took the jacket off. It was beautiful out today. Nice and sunny, no wind, 60 degrees. It was just great. Or about 58 degrees, probably. But we've got weather coming this weekend. Tomorrow, I think tomorrow's supposed to be pretty decent. And then tomorrow night, it's going to start raining and the temperature is going to drop. And we're supposed to get up to 3 inches of snow on Saturday. Who knows? We'll see if it happens or not. Owen, I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. Um, okay, sorry. I see some comments to other people. I'm going to skip over those. Joe, you ever give your quail scratch grains meant for chickens and their feeders? I don't. I mean, there's no problem if you want to do that, but I don't do that. I would make sure that you have some kind of grit available to them if you're feeding them something besides like a game bird or a a game bird feed or a game bird starter or a crumble feed. If you're feeding them something besides that, make sure they have some kind of grit available. If you have a sandbox, that's plenty. That'll work just fine. Jasmine says more on rabbits. Have you heard anything about a bad on American Blues? I don't think you mean a bad. Oh, wait, no, there. Okay, I read it wrong. Have you heard anything good or bad on American Blues or any other heritage breed rabbits? Since I'm on the lookout for new breeders, I'm in research mode. I don't know. You see, American Blues, I'm not super familiar with. I haven't heard anything bad. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I'm not real familiar with them. As far as the heritage breeds, there are. I'm not super researched on that right now. I know Silver Fox is considered a heritage breed. They're a great meat rabbit. So if you find some of those, nothing wrong with those. They're a great meat rabbit. What else is heritage breed? Giant chinchilla, maybe, maybe not. There's a few others. What was it? Palomino? Is that the? I think is that the rabbit or the horse? Maybe both. I can't remember. But anyway, there's a couple of heritage breeds out there. There's nothing wrong with them at all, as far as I know. I've never heard anything bad. I've had personally the only one I've ever had was be a silver fox. I did have a chinchilla, American chinchilla rabbit, or a giant chinchilla, I think it was. I don't remember if that's a heritage breed or not, though. So I don't know that that makes any difference. Either way, both of them were great. There's no problems with either one of them. All right. Blessed with Pets says 3 months later, I've tried everything you've told me, and my first time dose still won't lift. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That is incredibly frustrating. I know. And if you tried everything and you're still not getting rabbits or still not getting them to lift to breed, unfortunately, it just may be time to look for new rabbits. Sometimes you run into these does that are just a difficult to breed, and you can't ever get them past that for some reason. If you haven't tried force breeding, you can try that. Again, it's kind of difficult and it's not something I really like to do. It's much easier when you have does that are just willing to lift. If you have the ability, I'd look for some new rabbits and try to replace those does. Um, let's Skip over a couple of these guys talking to each other. Justin says she's not a first-time breeder. Oh, that's strange. Hopefully you get past that and get her to breed. Katrina says, I had a crazy thing happen today. Late this morning, I looked out the window and saw a baby bunny on the ground with the chickens. I have rabbits above chickens. Ran out there to see what happened. And there's more. There it is. The J feeder was halfway out. Somehow they detached one side and pushed it out of the hole. Babies must have fallen out through the hole. Luckily, doesn't appear to be hurt, just a little dirty. Yeah, that does. I've had similar things to that happen before. So yeah, I'm glad you found them. I'm glad you didn't have any problems with that. But yeah, that's always a nerve-wracking experience. You say they're 5 weeks old already, so they're old enough they can handle being out of the nest box and stuff. That's good. I'm glad you got them back though. I actually met my neighbors 3 houses down because my rabbits. I had a couple of J kips fail on the floor and it stretched down. I mean, there was a gap about that wide in just one certain part of the floor, and I had like 4 or 5 of my rabbits get out. And I caught all but one, and one I had no idea where it went. And like 3 days later, the neighbors down the road I'd never met before show up, and they're like, "Is this your rabbit?" Somebody said you had rabbits, and there it was. Sure enough, it had gone down to their house and ended up in their garage somehow. So anyway, um, Thomas says, "Is my chicken eggs going to?" I have no idea if your chicken eggs are going to hatch or not. I hope they. I hope. Good luck. I mean, I don't. I'm not sure how I can answer that one. Let's see where we at here. Justin says, "I got her. She was supposed to be bred, and I'm 40 days in, so I wanted to rebreed." Yeah, sounds like you definitely got the bad end of the stick there. Maybe she was bred and had a successful fall off, but for some reason, didn't get pregnant. It's hard to say for sure. You might give her a week or two, just give her a little bit more time to kind of adjust. And I mean, 40 days should be plenty of time. I can't tell what you're doing wrong, or I'm afraid I don't have any other real good suggestions. Try the car trick, drive her around the block a couple of times, see if she will breathe then. 12 gauge says, "Hi, Chris and all from Mountain View, Arkansas. Good to see you, 12 gauge." Thomas says, "Using chicken eggs before purchasing quail eggs." Okay, well, good. I hope they hatch. Um, Jay Moore says, "I don't know why my letters switch, but they do. Z and Y. I don't know what. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry, you lost me there." Justin says, "Mine are 2 years." Okay, what are we? 2-year-old rabbit, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm kind of lost on that one. I'm sorry. Hey, Tom. Good to see you, Tom. Good to see you. Bags of love. You're not talking to me, though, talking to somebody else. I think I've already said hi to you, but that's okay. We'll say hi again. Let's see. Who's that? Michael says, "First Caternix egg delivery tomorrow. Any recommendations from Iowa?" Well, okay. So if you're talking about your first batch of eggs being delivered, you're going to be incubating them out. So make sure your incubator is already plugged in, already getting warmed up. Getting it prepared. When they come in, take them out of the box, put them in an egg turner, or if you're going to use an egg turner, and let them just set for 24 hours or overnight anyway. And then just follow the regular incubating process. If you have gold Listerine, I always spray my eggs down before they go in the incubator with 50% mixture of water and gold Listerine. You can use hydrogen peroxide in place of gold Listerine, or even rubbing alcohol if you need to. I like gold Listerine myself, the regular yellow Listerine. 50% water, 50% Listerine. Just mist them down a little bit before they go in the incubator. Don't mist them once they're in the incubator, and then just incubate away. That's it. That's really all there is to it. If you have some specific questions on it, let me know. I've got a whole series on hatching quail eggs, so you can go back and watch all those videos if you want to. It'll go through all the details about hatching them, but it's pretty straightforward. If you've hatched eggs before, and you're just talking about shipping eggs, that's really the only difference is letting the eggs rest for about 12 to 24 hours first. 12 hours is probably plenty. Where are we at here? Paleo says, Do quail fatten up in the winter? My quail seem bigger, but I can't tell if they're just fluffing their feathers or if they put on fat in the winter. Yeah, I mean, they could fatten up a little bit in the wintertime, but more than likely it's mostly just them fluffing their feathers. When it gets cold out, they do fluff their feathers up. It's a way of insulating themselves. Pretty much all birds will do that. So they will look much bigger, that's for sure. Um, let's see. There's a bunch of people saying, some people saying sound is fine. Some people say his sound is okay. 12 gauge says not much bass in it. Other people say no issues. And it sounds like, okay, it's fine though. Okay. Okay. I think we're going to go with sound is fine. Let's go on from there. Gary says, Chris, question, when incubating quail eggs at 99.5 perfect temp, my incubator will average 99.8 or 99.1, which is best. You sound good to me. Okay. So, you're saying when you have them at 99.5, the incubator will average 99.8 or 99.1. I'm not sure. If I had to choose, I'd go with 98.8 or 99.8. You're probably not going to have too much of a problem at 99.1. I don't know that I'd stress about it too much if it's not swinging more than a full degree one way or the other. I don't think I'd worry about it too much. But yeah, I think I'd go with 99.8 if it was if I had a choice between the two. Um, just sounds tiny, huh? Somebody says. Hopefully it's working. Good through mobile, other people say. That's weird. I don't know. I'll have to go back and listen to this afterwards. I can't hear myself right now. So the microphone itself, maybe. Let me try again. I think it's all plugged in though. Microphone itself, I do take it off it's the same microphone I use on my camera sometimes. So I may have not got it all the way plugged into first. Hopefully it's working now. Jennifer from East Tennessee, good to see you. Jeff says, Jeff Hardy from Ohio, how old do the quail need to be to put on 1/2 inch by 1 inch floor? Oh, about a week and a half, maybe, somewhere around in there. You can put them on, well, 1 inch by, wait, 1/2 inch by 1 inch. Okay. 1/2 inch by 1 inch, I think, is a little too big for any of your birds, honestly. It's just, I would go with 1/2 inch, yeah, 1/2 inch square. But I wouldn't go with 1/2 inch over or by 1 inch. It's just a little too big a spacing. Your birds may have a little bit of problem walking on it. You may end up with some foot problems and things like that. But if you've got the 1/2 inch square hardware cloth flooring, birds can go on that at a week and a half old. They'll be fine. But yeah, I wouldn't go with 1/2 inch by 1 inch. Jesse says, got my quail daddy's calendar in yesterday. My 5-year-old daughter got a good laugh out of it. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Make sure you laugh at me for sure. We're coming up on February and I get to be featured in the February portion of the calendar. So, you get to look at me for a week or for a month. All right, Jay Moore, 17 tomorrow. I don't know what that means. I'm sure that's a response to something else, but I've forgotten already. And sorry. Belinda says, Chris, how did you recommend the legs on cages be? How high do you recommend the legs on cages be? That's really going to be just personally what works for you. What can you, if you make them too high, depending on how deep they are, you're not going to be able to reach into them because if they're hitting you in the chest, you can only reach that far. So you might make them high enough to where the bottom of the cage is, waist high, so you can bend a little bit and be able to get into them and out of them. Hopefully that makes sense. But I don't know that. I mean, there's not a certain leg height recommendation I have. It's just whatever is going to be comfortable for you. My cages, I don't know how tall they are. What I mean, they're about waist high on me. My neighbor, when she comes over to help, like when I'm gone out of town, she'll come and take care of things, and they're a little tall for her. She's shorter, and she has a heart. She can't reach the back of them because they're too tall. So, take that in consideration. But I don't know how tall to tell you. I mean, it's going to depend on how tall you are. RPG from Arizona is here. Good to see you. Um, was Koppel, I think is how we pronounce. I remember how to say it. Says, "Good evening from Illinois." I think it is. Do you think the going price will raise, and if so, how much would you say? If not, why? Cost of everything else. Do you think the going price of what? I'm not sure what we're talking about. Chances are, yes, price will go up. Everything goes up in price eventually, but I'm not sure specifically what you're talking about. So I don't know that I can answer that. Kathleen says, I just finished up building a rabbit cage. Those J hooks could be a little longer. Many of them work, not all the way around the two parts. I wanted connected. Any advice? So I think what you're saying is that there were some parts where you had a hard time getting the J hook to clamp around, like both pieces of wire. That's tricky. I know. Sometimes I run into that problem too. What I have done is taken a pair of like vice grips and clamped the wire together, and then it sometimes makes it easier to get the J clips around them. But there are some different parts. I don't know of a better suggestion for that. You could look at hog rings. Hog rings will work as well to clamp a cage closed. Unfortunately, I don't have any great suggestions for. I don't know of any longer J clips out there, so I'm not sure I can help more. Unfortunately, Scott says, do you trim your rabbit nails? If so, do you have a technique to use mine in all wire cage? I don't trim my rabbit nails unless one's got like a huge problem with it or something like that. And a couple of ways that I've found that, when I've had to trim one is usually just through the bottom of the cage. If they've got a long nail that's hanging through the bottom of the cage, I can usually just reach under there and snip it off without even really bothering them, getting them out of the cage. Um, Other than that, if you need to get them out of the cage to do it, I would suggest getting a big heavy towel, wrap them in a towel so that you can kind of keep them contained and they're not kicking and scratching you all up and all those kinds of things. Try to, pet them, keep them calm, have some treats nearby, give them some treats. It's going to be, depends on how tame your rabbits are as to how tricky that's going to be to do. But all right. Callie Quail Keeper says, check out Sow and Tear YouTube channel for, I always forget, is it Sow and Tear? I think it's Sow and Tear as in sowing seeds. Anyway, YouTube channel for raising meat rabbits. So that I've seen a few of their videos and I know that they come into the live broadcast occasionally. Definitely a channel worth checking out. Live Off Grid says, I had to separate my bunny girls when they were 10 weeks old and they started biting each other. It was very nasty. Yeah, does can often be, I think you were talking about rabbits, aren't we? Yeah, bunny girls, you said. Okay. Does can be often the aggressive ones. They tend to get more territorial. All right, Jay Moore, everything is going up. I expect lumber again too. We get a lot from Canada and the 15th more restrictions on the border. And the 15th more okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, everything is going up in price. I don't know about you guys, but store shelves around here are getting a little bit more bare. It's kind of sometimes hard to find what you're looking for. It's not at a point where I'm worried about not being able to find food or anything like that. But I went through the we went through the grocery store yesterday or day before, and like if you wanted a bag of spaghetti, it would have been very difficult to find one. They had other kinds of pasta, but they had limited amounts of all the pasta. The bread aisle was almost completely bare. There were only just a couple of loaves of bread here and there. And that may have to do with the weather coming in this weekend. I don't know. Or it may just have to be because the supply chains are a little disrupted right now. All right, Justin says I have champagne, and I don't know how to pronounce that word because I'm not French, but d'argents, I think is what we call them. Champagne d'argents. Anyway, says spelling. Sorry. Well, don't worry. I don't know how to pronounce it anyway, and I definitely don't know how to spell it. But it says I got two does and $2 and a doe off of a mutt, so I don't know. Okay. Says so I don't know. I'm not sure what you don't know, but it sounds like you've got some good rabbits there. Marcus says, question, an age old question. Is there any requirements to sell quail to the public in Texas? I don't live in Texas. I don't know. But no, I would say no, there's probably not. Now, there are going to be some restrictions. You're going to have to check with your local laws. Don't take my advice on this. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert on laws. But the way I understand it, at least around here, there's no law against me selling some quail to my neighbors or friends or family or any of those kinds of things. And I think it's the same thing in Texas. If you get over a certain amount, like a certain dollar amount, that's when you may start to run into an issue. There was a story about somebody selling rabbits, and I don't remember, I think it was in Missouri, but anyway, they were selling a ton of rabbits, like $25,000 a year's worth of rabbits or something. And they did eventually get into some trouble with that because they didn't have the proper registration or business licenses or something. I don't know what it was. But unless you're doing like a very large scale, I don't think you have to worry about it too much. I don't know that there's any law. Now, again, we're talking Coturnix quail, not bob whites. When you get into like a native bird, like a bob white, um, then there's going to be different regulations on those. You can't just sell those to whoever. They're going to have permits to raise those. But Coturnix quail, I think you should be fine. um, okay, a couple people talking to each other. Blessed with pets says my cockatiel learned his first words this week, and now I'm constantly hearing what doing. Yeah, yeah, that's a great thing about birds that learn to talk, isn't it? Joe says, I'm hearing you may be in the great state of Ohio this summer, QuailCon 2022, or is it just a rumor? No, I should be there. At this point, it looks like I'm going to go for QuailCon 2022. I was there last year. Looking forward to it this year. Unless something comes up, and between now and then, I should be there. Bob says, hey, Chris, I feed my quail red bell peppers as a supplement. Will it be safe for them? And if so, will the yolks come out red? I don't think. I mean, I no, they shouldn't come out red. I don't know if there's any issue with feeding them bell peppers. I don't think there is an issue with that. I've never done it, but if you're feeding them to your birds and they're doing fine, well, then there's no issue with it. Let me do a quick search here, real quick, but I don't see. Okay, yeah, just a quick search says that yeah, bell peppers are fine. I just looked. What I looked for is bell peppers to feed to chickens because it's really pretty close to the same, and they're fine to feed to your birds if you want to feed bell peppers to them. I didn't think there was any issue with it, but I always want to double check that stuff because I can't remember every specific thing. Now I do know what you don't want to do is feed the pepper plant to your birds or tomato plants for that matter. They're all part of the nightshade family, so do not feed the plant like leaves, stems, any of that stuff to them. But the pepper itself is fine to feed to them. Katrina says, I have a full funny story about the stray rabbit we caught in our yard. I remember talking about that. Says I ended up going to live on an organic farm on Sunday's video on my channel. So, and okay, I'll have to go check that out. Let me do it. Let me pull that up real quick. There we go. Got it. All right, got it pulled up. I'll go check that out later. Where we at here? Jeff says, "Hey, let's all hit the thumbs up button." Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Jay Moore says, "Less light and quail will lay less eggs." Yep, that's true. I'm not sure if you're responding to somebody or just stating a fact, but yes, yeah, the days get down below about 10 hours a day, and you're pretty much going to just shut down on egg production. Katrina says, one of my mamas has potty trained her babies to potty in her bathroom corner. I have no idea if the other mamas have taught theirs the same or not. Only observed Meatball's babies doing this. That's probably pretty convenient. um, Jasmine says, got my thumbs up in. Love these lives. Thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that. Let's see where we at here. A bunch of comments to each other. I'll let you guys talk to each other. Kevin says, hey, Peep, just got my thumbs up in also. Thank you, Kevin. Let's see, Alicia. Hey, I started incubating my first batch of quail yesterday. Awesome. Good luck with the hatch. I hope it goes well. Let's see. Katrina is talking to Jasmine. I'll let you guys talk. Jasmine says, Chris, did your late planted garlic ever sprout before the hard frost? It did. It actually looks pretty good. It got up about yay tall. We had a pretty late frost, so I think that helped. But yeah, it all sprouted. It looks like all of it. I haven't been out to check on it in the last week or two, but before the frost, I mean, it was doing great. So it looks good. I'm pretty happy with that. Thanks for asking. Um, and Donna says it sounds okay, but tiny. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play with the audio a little bit and figure that out. Let me do something here real quick, see if this works. It says Google Chrome is using. Oh, yeah, of course Google Chrome is. That's what browser I'm using to do this. Hang on, let me check something out here real quick. Probably shouldn't do this while I'm on the live broadcast because this will probably, I mean, hopefully it doesn't make any issues, but let's check. Oh, you know what I'm wondering? I wonder if we're using the right microphone now that I think about it. let me check something out here. Hang on. I figured out what the problem is. I got a new headset because my old one broke. Here it is right here. It's got a microphone on it. So this is the one that's working. Somehow it changed my default microphone to this one right here. That's the problem with the sound. Give me just a minute here. Let me see if I can adjust that and fix that. I don't. It's all plugged into the back of the computer. Or I would just pick it up and I would pick it up and unplug it. But I don't want to pull the computer out and all that. I don't. Well, why can I not just change that? There we go. All right, that should have fixed it. Let me check. No, maybe not. Okay. I don't know if it's working or not. I don't know, guys. We're gonna have to work here. I'll just put this on. Play. There we go. You get to watch me with a headset on today, but that should make the sound a little bit better. Hopefully it does. I can't tell what's going on here. But oh no, I lost track of where I was in the comments. There we go. I think I'm back. Wendy says, hopefully I'm not yelling at you guys now. Wendy says, finally made it to the live chat. I'm fairly new to Quail, and they just started laying 10 hens. Have only had 4 eggs in the last 2 weeks. They lay consistently once they start laying. Do they lay consistently once they start laying? They do. Let's see. Fairly new to Quail. They just started 10 hens. Have only had 4 eggs in the past 2 weeks. Okay, the problem you're going to be running into right now is that, I mean, unless you've got supplemental lighting, this is wintertime. So the days are really short and you're probably going to have no egg production out of them unless you add some kind of supplemental light to it. Get the days up to 15 hours a day of light. 14 to 15 hours and you'll get consistent egg laying out of them. Now, since they've laid 4 eggs already, my guess is that you probably have them somewhere where there is, some lighting. So that would, yes, they're going to start laying more consistently once they start laying. It usually takes them a week or two when they first start laying to kind of get in the habit of laying pretty consistently. So hopefully that answered that one for you. Hey, Yusuf's here. Sorry, I missed that. I didn't see you there. Hello to you, Yusuf. Thanks for joining. Gary says, thanks, Chris. That's the answer I needed in the templation. I don't know on the temp again. Thanks for North. I think I've got something. No, that's something weird. Oh, it's exclamation points. Okay, sorry. Got confused by the comment there. It was all run together and it looked like a different word. You are absolutely welcome. I'm glad that worked out for you, or glad that helped anyway. Hello, Gary. Gary, I've said hello already. We'll say hi again. Alicia says, Alicia, I think it is, says, do you ever have a problem with your hutch being blown over by a storm? I'm also in Missouri. Just wondering if I should use semen or not. Well, hello to a fellow show me stater. There's several of us in here. I only had one time where I ever had my hutch blown over. We had a pretty good storm come through. And it was really, the wind direction was different than what we normally get. It was pretty high winds. That's the only time it's ever happened. I haven't had an issue since then. But yeah, I don't think you really need to worry about cementing it in. But it also kind of depends on what kind of wind blocks you have, what direction it's facing, all that kind of stuff you have to take into consideration. I don't think it's going to be a huge problem, but if you're worried about it, go ahead and do it, or, just tie it down, maybe put some stakes in the ground and tie it down. Depending on how heavy it is too, I guess would be the other thing. All right, Seth says, I have Coturnix and Bob White in cages. The Bob Whites are very spastic. Would you recommend coop for them on the ground? I've never kept Bob White, so I can't really speak to that. If let's see, I know a couple of people in here. Who was it that kept Bob Whites before? They could probably answer that better for you. I would think probably if you had a ground cage for them and a higher roof for them, they might be a little bit more comfortable in that. But I don't know that it's going to make a huge difference. They may always just be a little bit crazy and a little bit, freaked out by your presence. Ann is here from Ohio. Good to see you, Ann. Let's see. Cali Quail Keepers says, question, Chris. I bought 3 little giants and my heat is always spot on, even with secondary, but humidity is always off, and I have to add water throughout lockdown. It works, but what problems have you run into? Not a huge amount of problems. In the wintertime, I mean, it depends a lot on your climate too. In the wintertime here, it's very dry, 40% humidity or less. And yeah, I do have to add more water to the incubator frequently. In the summertime, though, we're like 80% humidity, and I can almost not add water at all to the incubator and be just fine. So it kind of depends on what your climate is outside too. Um, if you have to add water all the way through lockdown, you might rig up something with like a hose. I mean, you can just put a small hole in the side of your incubator, run a tiny hose through there, hook it up to like a hydraulic, um, like a hydraulic needle type, not a needle, but the plunger part of it anyway. So you could add water to it that way without having to open it up. That may be something to think about. I haven't run into a lot of issues with it though. Um, what am I right about? Katrina says, "You are right. Thanks, Chris." Oh, you're welcome. I don't remember what I'm right about, but I'm glad. Heather says, "Wow, that's an awesome idea for the nails. I've been doing it the same way I do my dogs. Clip as many toes as they allow, then give them a break and come back and do it before they get back into their cage." Yeah, that makes sense. That's not a bad way to do it either. But Jasmine says, "Speaking of YouTube, those quail on the laser was quite funny, and so was your laugh. I'm also very easily entertained." Yeah, my wife thinks my laugh is pretty funny too, but I don't know if she's laughing with me or laughing at me. Doesn't really matter, I guess. Yeah, I thought that was quite humorous, actually. It kind of caught me off guard. Well, I'm not going to do it right now. So I've got that little temperature gauge sitting right there, and the quail are in their brooder box, but yeah, I'm not going to mess with them right now. Um, Heather Johnson says, continued. Oh, they like being brushed, so it's usually clip, brush, clip, clip, brush. Well, that doesn't sound like a bad option. I mean, it seems like it's working pretty well. Katrina says, can make pasta with quail eggs. Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, they're eggs. I don't see why they wouldn't work. Donna says, a weasel killed my buck rabbit. Oh, no, I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Hopefully, you can find a replacement. Let's see. Cali Quail Keeper says, Chris, let's prepare for the future as I believe things will get worse. We are bare shelved here in California and prices are rising. Yeah, part of the problem is probably that you live in California. No offense, but they've just about bankrupt that state. I think I would move out and to somewhere else. Prices are going up everywhere. I agree. But there are places where it's not nearly as bad for sure. And I don't mean that hopefully that didn't sound bad. I'm not trying to be mean or hateful or anything like that. It's just, California is a great place to visit. I don't think I'd want to live there, but that's just me. All right, Katrina, absolutely hilarious about the quail and the laser. I have a coworker who would shine a laser pointer and then tell her bird dog to fetch it up. Yeah, yeah, that's funny. Jasmine says, I utilize two sponges in my little giant incubator during lockdown, and I use a syringe to add water to the sponge through the small ventilation holes. Does a great job. Yeah, syringe. That's the word. Did I say syringe? Yeah, I said a needle, didn't I? I said hypodermic needle. That's what I meant, syringe. That's a great suggestion, Jasmine. Remember that humidity is controlled by surface area, not volume of water. I've kind of talked about this before. So take this soda can, for example. This volume of water right here, it's a very little surface area on the top. So that wouldn't produce as much humidity as the same amount of liquid that was spread out over a long tray. That would produce more humidity. So a sponge has a whole lot of surface area to it. It's going to produce more humidity than just putting water in the tray itself. But you're going to have to refill it, rehydrate it pretty frequently because it will dry out pretty quickly. Heather says, I've started my own rabbitry this year in Missouri and growing out our first litters. Any advice? Well, I'm not sure what specific advice you're looking for on that. I mean, that's a wide open question, but sounds like you're on the right track if you're growing out your first litter. Keep them with the mother rabbit until they're at least 6 weeks old. If you plan on just processing them for meat and they're growing fast enough, you can just leave them in there until they're 8 or 10 weeks old and then just go ahead and process them. Um, there's not a whole lot. I mean, I don't know exactly where to go with that. It's just too wide open. So if you have some specific questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them for you. Um, Yeah, Katrina says, no kidding, Cali Quail keepers. Have you noticed or have you been in the medicine aisle at the grocery store lately? Yeah, I didn't notice. I think I was over by the medicine aisle. I'm sorry, I got like a pinched nerve in my shoulder or something. It just bothers me every once in a while. It's kind of hurting. So if you see me squirming around a little bit, moving, it'll quit here in a minute. But um, I was in the medicine aisle at the grocery store yesterday or day before, whatever. It didn't look that bad around here, but there are definitely some gaps. It's not nearly as much stuff at the store as what there used to be. Bags of Love says, I bought a gallon of paint for my brooder cage and the price ranged from $29 to $50. It's crazy. Yeah. Well, gallon of paint though, I mean, it seems like it was about $25 for a gallon of paint like several years ago, but to $50, that is pretty high. Um, oh, where are we at here? I just got to scroll back up. Went too far. There we go. Fran Me says, hello, I'm glad I made it tonight. How have you been? I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm glad you made it too. Um, hello to you, Freedom Quail Farm. Solo FX says, if you want a better price on lumber, check out discount carts in Home Depot, Lowe's, etc. You can usually get 70% off. They spray the lumber with purple or orange paint. There you go. There's a good suggestion. Katrina says Sunday the 16th will be the funny bunny story over at So and Tear YouTube channel. So I'll try to remember that and keep that and go check it out. All right. Got a couple people talking to each other. We'll let that go. VIP Funny Farm says we don't have a quail egg turner for the incubator. Can we use the chicken egg turner instead? You can. You just won't be able to fit as many eggs in there at a time, but it should work just fine. I've done it before. Yusuf says, yeah, it is better. Probably the sound, right? Yeah. Katrina says, isn't technology fun? Yeah, it's a blast. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's terrible. I don't know why I can't get it to switch over. Maybe because I'm already in the live stream. So after I finish, it'll probably switch over and use the other mic. Oh, sorry, guys. My shoulder is killing me. Ugh. All right. Hello to you, Adarsh, I think it is. Good to see you. Yusuf says, just wear the headphones. Yeah, that's kind of what I resorted to. Yeah, Paleo says, settings, sound, input. Yeah, that's where I went, and I changed it in there to go to the other mic and not this one, but it didn't actually make the change. Blessed with Pets says, finish the hammock. Now I got to ask my parents if I can get rats. Well, good luck with that. Katrina says, now you sound like a pilot. Well, I guess it could be worse. Adarsh says, need some collaboration, sir. Okay. Let's see. Cali Quail Keepers, nice to have land to work on and serenity at home. You have a great job. Yeah, I think are you talking to me? I guess I have a good job. Yeah, it's pretty good. Have a little bit of land, not a lot. I mean, I live in town, but yeah, it could be a lot worse. That's for sure. All right. Where are we at here? Freedom Quail Farm says going to our first rabbit show this weekend with our mini Rex. Looking forward to learning a lot and getting contacts for future breeders. That is a great idea. If we had any rabbit show nearby, I'd probably go to them too. But yeah, that's a good place to find good information for future breeders. Yusuf says, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pilot Chris talking. We should be landing in New York in a few hours. Thank you for your attention and have a nice flight. That's pretty good. Adarsh says, I'm from Indiana. Well, nice to have you here. Thank you for joining. Says, how do I get in touch with you? Well, we're talking right now. This is pretty, pretty much it. I mean, if you, other than that, sorry, work thing. I just needed to check, make sure it wasn't urgent. The other ways to get in touch with me, I'm pretty bad about, you can try to email me. I'm not the best about responding to email, but you can email me, Chris at slightlyrednecked.com. That might work, but I'm not sure what you're wanting to get a hold of me for. So right here, this would be probably a good thing to, just ask your questions here. This is going to be the best way to to communicate with me usually. He's asking me to say things. Yeah, I already said it, Yusef. Uh, Pete says, "Do you ever have problems where the quail suddenly attack the back of your head? Oh, the back of the head of a specific bird." Yeah, I mean that's happened before. It's not something that commonly happens now. I don't have too many birds with aggression problems, but yeah, I've had that problem. Usually, if it's the back of the head, they're losing feathers on the back of their head. That's breeding behavior. So that could be a sign that you have too many roosters with your hens. Or too few hens with your roosters. You really want about one rooster for every 5 hens. If you go less than like 3 hens to one rooster, then you are going to end up with that bald strip on the back of their head. And sometimes, like, it'll look like they're being attacked on the back of their head, but that's breeding behavior and it's just a low rooster ratio. Usually, if it's aggression from your birds, they're attacking the face, around the eyes, around the mouth, around the beak, sometimes the neck and the back of the head too. But usually, you're going to see more wounds around the face area of them. If you are having those problems, it's usually going to be one bird that's kind of the instigator, the one that's really causing that. If you can identify which bird that is and just remove them from your flock, a lot of times that'll fix that. Callie Quickkeeper says, I do have Bob White in an aviary. Lovely sounds they make, at least. Yeah, I like Bob White quail. I mean, they're native birds around here. I don't see a whole lot of them anymore, but they are native birds here. And I do like hearing them. I like the whistle. I just don't get to see them very often anymore. Darsh wants to know if there's anyone from Indianapolis. I'm not sure. I'm sure there are, but I don't know who it would be. And just like that, my shoulder quit hurting. Weird. Anyway, Jamie Mike says, have you ever left your cage doors unlatched and have a baby rabbit get out? I did, but it kept running back into the lean-to where the cages are, and I finally caught it. Yeah, well, I've left my cage doors unlocked, but all my cage doors open to the inside. So if I don't latch them, they push against the cage. They stay closed. They can't just push them open by pushing on them, if that makes sense. So no, I haven't had that happen really. Michael says, any advice on convincing the family to try rabbits? I used to show New Zealand rabbits in 4-H when I was a kid, but they have not tried them. I don't know. Do you mean like try them, like try to raise them, or try them as in try to eat them? I don't know if there's a couple of ways you could do that for sure. I don't know the best way to do that because it's going to be specific on your family and what the dynamics are there and all that. And I don't know them. But you might just approach the subject and just ask how they feel about it and go from there. Donna says, maybe IV bags to connect to the incubator. I think you're talking about to control humidity. That sounds like a pretty good idea, actually. Little drip system, maybe. Um, Blessed with Pets says, my family is thinking about getting a dog to protect our chickens and goats. Any breed suggestions? Oh boy, that's a tough one. I mean, if you want something to protect your animals, I think the standards are going to be, the standard livestock guardian dogs are like Anatolian Shepherds, Great Pyrenees, some of those. You will have to watch. I mean, some of the, like my neighbor has Great Pyrenees and an Anatolian Shepherd, and her Great Pyrenees she's not the best with her chickens. She's not good around the chickens. She doesn't necessarily like aggressively attack them, but she wants to play with them, and she's just too rough. So you might have to watch that. But if you get it as a younger dog and raise it up, or a well-trained dog, you may not have a problem with that. But there's lots of different breeds you can get away with too. German Shepherds. I mean, all kinds of dogs that are out there. It just depends on what you're looking for. Adarsh says, I just started my YouTube channel. My inspiration is you. Well, awesome. Good luck with that. I hope it works out well. Stick with it, and I'm sure you'll find success. Jennifer says, I use sandbag leg wraps for gazebos on my hutches to keep them from blowing over. Got them on Amazon. There you go. There's a good suggestion. Ed says, try the laser pointer on a cat. Now that's funny. Yeah, I don't have a cat, but I've seen cats chase a laser pointer for sure. Jay Moore says, prices up and empty shelves countrywide. Yep. Yeah, there are. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not to the point where I'm terribly worried about it, but yeah, there are definitely less things in the store than there used to be. Jay says, add worldwide, actually. A lot of videos on it. Yeah, and I think you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt when you start seeing like the news reporting on that stuff or whatever, because the news is into like shock therapy kind of stuff. They exaggerate everything, and they tend to take something that's happened in one part and exaggerate it and make it sound like it's going on nationwide. I did this experiment a little while back. I'll tell you. I stopped watching the news, and I hadn't watched it for probably 6 months or so, and everything's going fine. And then I turned it on. I watched the news one day. Man, it sounded like the world was falling apart. I mean, they made it out like it was. I mean, I was starting to get nervous, and then I started thinking, wait a minute. The past 6 months have been fine for me. Nothing's wrong. What am I? What am I doing? Why am I worried? The news just they make you paranoid. It's amazing how they just everything is exaggerated. Everything's a catastrophe. Everything's a tragedy. Everything's dramatic all the time. It's crazy. Adarsh says, my quail hatched in 15 days. Actually, I sold them as balut, and a customer returned after 2 hours. I put them back in the hatcher, and they hatched. I got lucky. Nice. That's kind of funny, actually, but not really, I guess. So I'm glad you got them back and got them to hatch. But yeah, next time maybe 13 or 14 days for the balutes, I guess. Uh, M says, Chris, been a while since I've been able to tune in. Good to see you. Well, good to see you back. Thanks for joining us. How are we doing on time? We got about 4 or 5 minutes left. I got to move through some comments, don't I? VIP Funny Farm says, for growing out rabbit kids, what's the protein ratio you use? I like a 19% protein for my rabbits. That's for all of them, the babies, the adults, all of them. I like a 19%, but I think the standard is probably 16%, and that works fine too. Alicia, I really like your hutches, so my son and I are going to build one like yours, so it should be fine since yours is fine. Yeah, hopefully it is. I can see your comments, Adarsh. Let's see. Katrina says, lay on a tennis ball to kill that knot, Chris. Yeah, it's not. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know I mean, it's just a thing in my shoulder right here. Just every once in a while, it just starts aching. And if I just move a certain way or whatever, it quits and just goes away after a few minutes. It's not really a knot. It's not like I don't really have tension or any of that kind of stuff. I'm a weirdo that I don't like massages. I don't have any tension to get rid of. I just don't worry about things. And, but thank you for the suggestion. I appreciate it. Michael says, my daughter just asked for a mouse in her room. Oh, well, yeah, believe it or not, I've kept mice and rats before. Rats are actually better pets than mice. Rats are pretty intelligent. You can train them to come to their name and do things. They're actually pretty good pets. Solo says, another tip in the paint department at Home Depot, you can get mist tint paint for as little as $10 to $15 a gallon. That's a good suggestion. M says, Chris, I had 5 baby rabbits, 7 to 8 weeks old. They were doing fine. One day I gave them some alfalfa, and the next day they all died. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry to hear that. Makes me think that there may be something wrong with that alfalfa. Like maybe there was mold in it, or it'd been sprayed with some kind of pesticide or something. Because alfalfa itself should not kill your rabbit. That's the primary ingredient in most rabbit pellets. It's not. You shouldn't have any issues with that unless you switch them over from some other diet and just gave them a whole bunch of alfalfa. And it's not the alfalfa doing it, it's the drastic diet change. Rabbits are pretty sensitive to diet changes, so you don't want to take them from like eating pellets and then go to greens and just like that, just make that change. You want to do that slowly and introduce them to that stuff slowly. But again, chances are their primary, I mean, if they're eating pellets, it's mostly alfalfa anyway. So it makes me suspect that there's something wrong with it, like it was moldy. That would be one of my biggest concerns, that it had mold in it, or maybe pesticides. Yusuf got a kick out of me saying that, huh? Good. I'm glad you were entertained. S. McKee says, just got here. What's happening, everyone? Well, I mean, you're kind of late. We're about ready to wrap this one up tonight, but thank you for joining. Adarsh says, the reason is just started YouTube page, needs some help with the page. I'm not sure if I'm the best one to help with that. I wish I could, but you can see I'm pretty basic with mine. All right. We got a couple people talking to each other. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of comments I'm probably not going to get through. There's one from VIP Farm, says, how long do you age a rabbit in the refrigerator after processing them? Okay, good question. Until the rigor mortis leaves the meat, and that really applies to any animal, whether it's a rabbit or quail or anything. But until rigor mortis leaves the meat and they're not stiff anymore, and that's usually for a rabbit, usually 24 to 48 hours, somewhere right around in there. For quail, sometimes 12 hours to 24 hours, something like that. I usually go a day, 2 days, some days three. As long as they're fine to go that long, it's no big deal. But as long as the rigor mortis has kind of left the meat at that point, then I go ahead and freeze them. S. McKee says, I had a young 4-week-old hen who, for some reason unknown to me, bleed out in her crop. Does anyone know why this would happen? I don't. That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. No, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry I got distracted by another comment. I'm not laughing at that. For reasons unknown to me, bleed out in her crop. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know what would cause that. That seems unusual to say the least. Adarsh says, please don't report me if the first video looks similar to your opening line, but in my language, Telugu, South Indian language. Yeah, I won't report you, and chances are, I don't speak that language, so I wouldn't even know what you were saying. But good luck with your video anyway. I hope it works out well, or your channel. I hope it does work out. All right. Jamie Mike says the baby rabbits raised the door up inside, and most of them got between the floor and the opening and hopped out of the cage. And it was fast continued. Okay, it was fast. Okay, didn't know what it was. I ran behind a shovel and popped its head out, and then I realized what it was when I first saw the baby. Yeah, that could be startling. I'm glad you got him back though. Jay Moore says, I stay away from mainstream news. Yeah, it's probably a good bet. That's for sure. Adarsh says, did you get the new type of New Zealand breed rabbits from Texas? No, I have not gotten any new rabbits yet. Still working on it. Hopefully things are starting to calm down here after the holidays and, deer season, all that's up. Hopefully I'll be able to have some time to find some and maybe make a road trip to pick them up. Blessed with Pets says, my mom wants to hatch some chicken eggs. What's the best place to get them? We're located in Louisiana. Oh boy, I don't know right offhand. Just look for chicken hatcheries. I don't know the best place to get them. And I guess it depends on what kind of chicken eggs you want to hatch too. But I'm afraid I can't give you real good suggestions on a chicken hatchery right offhand. Yusef says, then I'll still have to figure out who to thank for those 2 feedbacks. I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that one. I don't. You're probably talking to somebody else. All right. There's a whole bunch of comments to each other. I'll let those go. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we're past time. I got to wrap this one up. Get off of here and get things prepped for my wife. She should be home from work any moment here. So thank you guys all for joining me tonight, putting up with me and dealing with my incompetence and getting the microphone to work. I appreciate your patience there. And hopefully we'll be back next Thursday. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't at this point anyway. We will see you guys here next Thursday. And I'll try to get some good videos out for you this weekend. I'm still struggling with coming up with good content because I feel like I've covered everything and I'm starting to run into some issues. Hopefully it'll get better. Somebody wants to know if I'm going to do a fodder for rabbit video. Probably not. I don't do rabbit fodder, but who knows? We'll see. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for joining me tonight. We will see you guys next week. As always, God bless.